few iconic pieces out of media that transcend knowledge of that piece of media. You may not have ever seen a Star Wars, but there's a pretty good chance you know what a lightsaber is. There are many pieces of pop culture that are heavily referenced and heavily recognized, even if you haven't seen that particular film, TV show, or etc. piece of media. And in the horror genre, one of those is the carpet from The Shining. This iconic carpet from the Stanley Kubrick adaptation of The Shining is mesmerizing and creates an almost liminal space, not just the fact that it comes from a horror film, especially an iconic one at that, but it just has a dizzying effect with its repeating patterns and not so soothing color palette. Warmer colors like oranges and yellows and reds tend to raise your heart rate and make you far more alert and uncomfortable, as well as raise your anxiety, as opposed to something that is blue or green. Sidebar, if you want to know more about colors and what they do to you, I have a video about that. Just saying. But this carpet is more than just the Shining carpet. So let's talk about its history as well as its use in video games. Since its iconic debut in The Shining, it's been seen in so many other pieces of film, such as Sid's house in Toy Story, and the pattern in The Substance is very reminiscent of this particular carpet without actually being the carpet. It's very easy to see something similar and still get that same vibe that this iconic Shining carpet exudes. This carpet is actually designed by David Hicks and is known as the Hicks Hexagon carpet. David Hicks had a very extensive interior design career that is incredibly fascinating. I'm going to be linking some articles that I pulled just to read and learn about this man. He was born in 1929 and even made carpets for Windsor Castle. Absolutely insane. And Hicks Hexagon carpet has been in production since the 60s, well before Stanley Kubrick's iconic film in 1980. This iconic carpet's design really lends itself to the just mind-bending aspects of Kubrick's adaptation of The Shining in so many shots with the way that they've placed Danny, and it just makes your brain a little bit cray-cray. I don't need to go on about how iconic Kubrick's film is and how haunting it has left audiences ever since it first came out. Again, even if you've never seen The Shining, there's a pretty good chance you're still pretty scared of it, and if you were to ever see two twins standing at the end of a hall in a hotel, you would probably lose your mind just a little bit. When used in any other setting, not only can it be a great homage, like in the video game Forgive Me Father, but it can set a very uncanny and uneasy vibe. Even if it's not the exact pattern of Hicks Hexagon, just utilizing a repeating pattern with a similar color palette exudes that same feeling of unease and dread, and just that something not quite right might happen. As I said, in the world of video games, it can be just a nice, fun little reference. Video games like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and River City Girls 2 have sequences in hotels and hallways with that iconic carpet that make you go, hey, look, it's the Hicks Hexagon carpet. Well, hey, look, it's the Shining carpet, but now I'm such a nerd that I say, hey, look, it's the Hicks Hexagon carpet. Games also, even all the way up to Luigi's Mansion 3 by Nintendo, are no stranger to this iconic repeating pattern. Thriller, mystery games, or just outright horror games like 12 Minutes and Decarnation also feature the repeating pattern as a character walks through a hallway to their apartment or from their apartment towards some, again quoting my notes, mind-effery and fear. It's like an appetizer to a greater scare almost. Sure, sometimes it's just there, like in Disco Elysium or in Evil Within 2. Its pattern is so iconic and so hypnotizing that even without the proper colors or just in a general hexagonal shapes, like in Cyberpunk 2077 or in the Alan Wake 2 Night Springs DLC. Even without the proper formation or proper colors, there's just something dizzying about a bunch of hexagons laid together. This hexagonal carpet is a favorite of a lot of indie horror game designers, one of which is called Those Who Remain. I'm very complicated thoughts about the video game Those Who Remain. There are plenty of aspects about the game that I think are really interesting. I think its inherent premise is interesting, and it has quite a few good spooks. It has the energy of when you turn off the lights in the basement, but then you have to run back upstairs, like the light switches at the bottom, and you know how as a kid you would sprint up the stairs because you're like, oh, if I go fast enough, the monster won't catch me at the bottom of the stairs. That kind of anxiety is present throughout that game. However, a lot of it is buried under, how do I phrase this nicely? Other unnecessary stuff. I feel like the game could have used a lot more editing, but that's not what this video is about. There is one particular sequence where you walk through a hotel-esque hallway with the iconic hexagon carpet, and you're like, oh, look at that, shining carpet. Okay, that's a little, alright, fun little reference. And when you get to the end of the hallway, you have a whole scare happen with a spirit that then you have to sprint back through the hallway and get to the end of to escape. However, whilst that sprint back, a bunch of furniture will come and try to block your path. Let me tell you something. I was stressed. I won't play the clip with sound from my live stream because I think I may have destroyed my microphone and blown out everybody's eardrums. I've never made such a high-pitched shriek before while live streaming. Just screaming, get these chairs out of the way. I was in pure panic mode, flinging furniture away from me to try and get away from this ghost. And I'm not saying that it was entirely this carpet's fault, but those colors subconsciously raise your anxiety, and I would not have, I maybe would have been a fraction as scared if it was a green carpet as opposed to a carpet of this particular hypnotic, anxiety-inducing pattern and color series. Even if I didn't know anything about The Shining, it still has a subconscious effect on you. Another video game is mouthwashing. There's a wall that, while of course it's not the hexagonal carpet in the spaceship, it is reminiscent of it, just like how the carpet in The Substance, an A+ film by the way, but is very squirmy with the body horror, if that's something you can't take, is an example of as well. Mouthwashing has a lot of really horrifying underlying implications along with its just, again, general mind effery, that a wall that is reminiscent of the hexagonal carpet not only, again, heightens that anxiety and that liminal space of this is not a good place or safe space. It fits right at home is what I'm trying to say. This carpet is more than just the shining carpet. It is anxiety-inducing, even if it wasn't included in one of the most iconic horror films of all time. It is an absolutely incredible tool that Kubrick utilized that has now left a long-lasting impression and legacy that Hicks's own son, Ashley Hicks, who also is an interior designer himself, has stated in interviews that he's quite proud of its legacy and he wishes his father had worked with Kubrick. It messes with your head, it messes with perspective, it messes with just your overall sense of that space. And again, in a video game or any other sort of piece of media, it can be a fun nod, a fun reference, or just another tool in your belt to create fear and dread within a player. This is a bit of a shorter video than my color video, for example, or what I would have initially liked to do, but I hope that I introduced you and dipped your toes into such an interesting piece of horror media and will make you think more next time you're playing a video game or even rewatching Toy Story again and you see that carpet. Maybe it might just spark a little something extra. And hey, maybe next time somebody asks you for a fun fact, you drop knowledge about the Higgs hexagonal carpet. Thank you so much for watching. I am feeling a little bit sickish right now, which is probably part of why I'm making I'll admit, part of why I'm making this video a little bit on the shorter side. I'm gonna be a YouTuber here and say, please, if you made it this far and you like this video, please give a subscribe. You can check out my Twitch streams as well. I'm gonna have all my links below. I do a combination of videos about cosplay and video games here on this channel. Stay tuned because I have a lot of conventions coming up for this year, and hopefully I will see you sometime soon. Take care! Unless you want to play with us forever. Bye.